y a une rencontre qui a bouleversé ma vie de cinéaste, c'est celle que j'ai faite en 1981 avec Michel Petrucciani, quelque temps avant qu'il ne parte à Big Sur aux États-Unis pour retrouver le saxophoniste Charles Lloyd. Depuis cette rencontre, je n'ai eu de cesse de filmer une musique qui, d'une certaine façon, dit tout ce que l'on ne peut pas dire avec des mots, comme ce thème que joue Charles Lloyd pour évoquer le souvenir de ce jeune pianiste qui allait frapper à sa porte.
He came to my place in Big Sur in California. It's a place along the coast there and very isolated. And I was there in retreat and he came and I was not there when he first came. And but they called me on the phone that this guy was here. And I heard him playing my piano in the background. So I came home. And I took out my horn and we played. And it was very special. I didn't expect this, you know. I think I had a mutual friend who knew both of us, and he kept telling me about him, but I was not interested, you know, to make a meeting because I was in retreat, you know. But he showed up, you know, he was 17, 18. And I was very touched by him because he had a very beautiful talent and he had a purity about him that touched me. And the elders had always helped me as a young man, so I realized that it was maybe time for me to leave my mountain retreat. So I took him around the world for a couple of years and got him started, you know. And the story is told differently. People tell it differently, but that's the way I saw it, you know. Some say he came and got me, but basically he was not known, and I saw that he had a beautiful talent. And at the time he came, I was reading some ancient texts, something called the Astavakra Samhita, which means, Astavakra means bent in 8 places. It was about a young man with a bent frame. And then this little man shows up with a bent frame, so it was very, what do you call, like providence or something was there, you know. when he came, it was clear to me that he had a special talent, and I didn't want to see him not be able to present it. And people had been trying to get me to play concerts for years, and I would never agree to do it. So I had some friends I would do things with sometimes, you know. And but when he came, I called a friend, and I said, I'll play some concerts. So, but I didn't know. But then after I got him started, I went back, you know. But then once you get started again, you know. It's a Renaissance period. I mean, another Renaissance period. I'm just doing the same thing.
Le quartet
Well, no, all my life.
très certainement
Waiting patiently for you.
But once I start, I'm home.
vous avez une autre sensibilité musicale après des années passées dans différentes tensions intellectuelles, linguistiques.
Ce musicien, Charles Lloyd, est revenu au jazz. On l'a redécouvert grâce à notre ami Michel Petrucciani. Et ce soir, vous allez l'entendre, vous pourrez certainement l'applaudir, avec trois compagnons dont les noms résonnent dans les oreilles de tous les amateurs de jazz de qualité, c'est-à-dire John Abercrombie à la guitare, Larry Grenadier à la basse et Billy Higgins à la batterie. Charles Lloyd.
A lot of things were happening in those times, you know, in the 60s there. And I was traveling more and loving the music, but the life was for me, was not, I couldn't adjust to it so much as a young man. I was always an idealist and a dreamer, and I wasn't so much interested in becoming like a product, you know. I wanted to go deeper into something, but at the same time, and I had wonderful musicians I always played with, the bands I played with, the musicians who played with me. When I first got to New York, I wanted to jump into the fast lane, and I did that, and that was very devastating for me because I couldn't handle my personal life suffered after a time as well as musically, because there was a lot of stresses and such to be a young man with so much travel, and yet not the ability to have not necessarily retreat, but I didn't have a balance in my life, you know. So I sought refuge in like how do you say, what little I could get from excess. And it was the time of the culture, you know, there were people like Jimi Hendrix and the Grateful Dead, and they would give me all kinds of psychotropic substances and stuff like that. And it was, it was a beautiful time also because there were so many great creative musicians around. But at the same time, for me, I had experiences with, the most profound one was Booker, who died at 23, Booker Little, and he said it was about character. In the meantime, here I am experimenting with drugs and such, you know, and he was right, you know, and I came to realize that I wanted to refresh myself in my true quest. So this is why I went away, and I worked on my sound, and I also had experiences being around people like Monk and, you know, Train, Duke, Mingus, all these great musicians, you know. Ornette was a friend, lived in the Village. Bob Dylan lived around the corner. And I also had big dreams of a better world, you know. Jimi Hendrix was a close associate. And just a lot of, but I was lucky, I think, in a way, to be able to go away. You know. I had to save my life, I think, you know.
Is it balanced, though? The balance is okay? All musicians are important. It's important to me to, when I met Jim Hall, it's also important. When I was a young kid and I met Wes Montgomery, I just shook his hand. But it's important, like, to meet, you know, Charles Lloyd or Billy Higgins, you know, they're, all the musicians I work with are important. I can't say there's one important musician that I've met. I started very young as a rock and roll musician, but I was only 13 years old. And when I heard Barney Kessel play and I heard jazz music, I knew I wanted to be a jazz musician. I started playing jazz really in the 60s. I was playing with this organ trio, Johnny Hammond Smith. But then at the end of the 60s, everything changed and all the jazz musicians were playing with wah-wah pedals and rock and roll. I did it because that's where I could work. And I liked the music. I mean, I liked this sort of fusion music, but if you look back, I only stayed from maybe 1968 or 69 until the early 70s, and then I was back and trying to play with Jack DeJohnette because I liked parts of rock and roll, but I would never be a rock and roll musician. It's not my nature. I'm a jazz musician. I hope.
So, Marge, where am I going now? I'm telling you. Hey, how you doing, man? Good. What you doing over here?
I'm following you around.
All right. Okay. All right. Yeah, man. That's what you're doing, man.
C'est bien un caméraman en partie dissimulé comme ça par l'arbre. Moi j'aime bien ce que je photographie, c'est ce qui est plutôt la nature de la dissimulation. J'aime les choses qui sont derrière en quelque sorte. Donc c'est bien. C'est René Char qui disait ça, non? Suggérer c'est créer, montrer c'est détruire. Un peu ça. C'est Doineau qui m'avait écrit ça un jour il y a très longtemps, je débutais dans la photo. Je faisais déjà des photos de jazz, mais j'étais fier. Qui m'ait indiqué presque une marche à suivre un peu. Pour moi, c'est un peu un saxophoniste, un moment peace and love. C'est quelqu'un qui a été dans une sorte de mouvance hippie. Alors, gestuel, saxophone qui se lève très haut. Un côté éléphant, le chose, il barille. Il le porte très haut. Il y a ces musiciens introvertis rentrés. Lui, c'est quelqu'un à la fois pourtant qui paraît plutôt de nature mystérieuse, mais qui en même temps fait jaillir le saxophone, lui donne une élégance dans les airs.
I grew up, you know, with heroes, you know, modernity, Charlie Parker, you know, hearing Duke's band and all of that, you know. And then I grew up with all these great musicians in my hometown, Phineas Newborn, you know, Booker Little, and, you know, all these great guys, George Coleman, people you don't even know, you know. And so many, it was great music was always around me. And then when I got to New York, or when I went to California, then I was around Eric Dolphy, Ornette Coleman, and Don Cherry, and Billy Higgins, you know. And I've been playing with Billy since I was 18. And it's still very fresh and enlivening, you know. So the period was very rich. There was music everywhere. We were all in love with the music, you know. And so, what's the question? I'm sorry. First was the Beethoven of my community, or for you, it was like Ravel or Debussy was Phineas Newborn, because he was so modern and he was so beautiful in his technique. He could play like Art Tatum and Bud Powell. I mean, he had that sensibility, and yet he could play, you know, he could play all the Bach music and Beethoven. So he was someone who very much influenced me first. And then he turned me on to Charlie Parker. And that for me was a holy grail, because it was so intelligent and so brilliant and so touching from the heart, you know. And of course I played with all the old blues men who lived down there, you know, people like Howlin' Wolf, Bobby Blue Bland, B.B. King, Johnny Ace, Roscoe Gordon. All these guys, they were very powerful, you know, coming out of like Robert Johnson kind of stuff, you know, really. playing with a lifelong friend, Billy Higgins. We've been playing together games since I was 18, and such incredible experiences. He's also a very spiritual man. He's been through a lot, you know. I never talk so much about my early years and the years of drugs and such, you know, because it's not, I never thought it was constructive, you know, but it's a part of my past also, you know, and I had to work my way through that, and so did Billy, you know. But then if you come out of that and if the Creator's willing, you can rise above to something else. So I now experiment to play with different musicians that I feel some simpatico with, you know, and it feels like another kind of Renaissance period that I can find kindred souls again to share the vision, you know. And I want to have a vision where it's a world where we can all rise to our full potential and we all can respect each other and have share in the beauty of the dance.
C'est bien.
Demain sur Mezzo, 20h50.